You're ready.
AM to 8 AM. I told her I had a little
I never thought about it. Anyway, just all that.
I remember the challenge.
I feel like I was seeing a bystander. I can't make a comment. I think to anybody. Didn't have the background. I didn't know it was going to be actually the perfect storm. You're a senior because I know you're and Jamie are with me.
And all the seniors get fed first. If I see a senior back there, they come first before you. A senior high school. Mayor.
I was going to say,
Good evening. Looks like we have a much smaller crowd, and that's not bad. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's a special meeting of the City Council of Fort Walton Beach on Tuesday, September 10th. We will start at 6. We'll run a little late, 6:39. But anyway, calling meeting in order. If you have a cell phone, if you please turn it off and put it on vibrate. I really appreciate that. Now, if you'll stand with me, please, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Ashley, would you get the agenda, please? Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Want to do I write my notes on it. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And we're going to start with,
Thank you.
we're going to need a motion to approve the agenda. We'll start that way, please.
so moved, Mayor. Second.
Been moved by Councilman Allegretto and seconded by Councilman Jeter to approve the agenda as presented. Comment?
No, sir.
Comments? Council, please vote. Does pass unanimously. Thank you, Council. Next is the resolution. Resolution 4.1, 2024-10, a resolution to adopt the FY 2024-25 tentative millage rate. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Fort Walton Beach, Florida, adopting the tentative millage rate for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2025, and providing an effective date. Do I read the statement now then? Right. Okay. The tentative millage rate for the City of Fort Walton Beach for FY 2024-25 is 4.6116 mils, which is 6.55% above the rollback rate of 4.3282 mils. The rollback rate is a millage rate that will provide the same ad valorem tax revenue as was levied during the prior year. The reason for setting the millage rate at 4.6116 mils is to provide sufficient revenues to balance the general fund budget. I will now open the public hearing and ask for comments on the tentative millage rate. If anyone wishes to come forward on that. I will now close the public hearing. I'll ask for a motion and a second for Resolution 24-10 to set the tentative millage rate for the City of Fort Walton Beach at 4.6116 mils for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025.
Mayor, I move to set the tentative millage rate at 4.6116 mils for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Allegretto and seconded by Councilwoman DeBerry to set the tentative millage rate for the City of Fort Walton Beach at 4.6116 mils for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, ending September 30th, 2025. Ms. Barnes, you may now read a statement from Councilman Smith.
Okay. From Councilman Smith, let's see. I am in support of the rollback rate and applying this budget to adhere to the potential new budget charter amendment that will be voted on in November. Based off discussions to do that, we would need to cut around $426,000, which I believe is very doable with the current budget we have. I trust in Nicole that she can find the $426,000 that has the least impact on city operations, as she has been the most capable finance director we have had in close to 20-plus years, in my opinion. Our residents continue to be burdened financially, and I believe it is our duty to provide the best service we can at the best price point we can. I do not believe that cutting $426,000 out of an almost $61 million budget will handicap the city to where we cannot provide what is expected of us. I did my best to keep this short and sweet, as I know Payne has a binder full of questions for everyone. I swear he wrote that.
I don't doubt it, but not this year. Tell it. No.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Thank you. At this point, we're open for council discussion.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Number one, I know, Mayor, it's your determination as to whether to allow someone who's not at the meeting to make statements or not. I've never done that in the past, but getting to write witty lines at the end of it like that kind of makes me want to miss a meeting, and just make Ms. Barnes say some pretty wild things. The reason I made this motion was because I believe that we're on the right track here with everything that we've got going on. I didn't get the exact numbers, but I think, I asked if Ms. Neighbors could put those numbers together, an average home, and you've got a homestead exemption on it. What are we talking about? The difference between, the 4.66 blah 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 and the 4.3, the rollback rate versus the current rate. What if I have a house and it's valued at the median of homes here,
Well,
or whatever you came up with?
Yeah, I did just an easy calculation. On a $100,000 taxable value home or property, if we were to be at what we are at now versus the rollback rate, that property owner would save a difference of $28.34 for the year. If they're homesteaded at $50,000, they will save $14.17 for the year,
Okay,
for
so-
the entire year.
So $14. That's kind of my point here, is that, I talk to a lot of people in the city, and I've sat up here for a few years, and we've gone to the rollback rate several of those years. Several years we've not. The thing that I hear more from anybody that's a resident of this city is, I want this city to be nice. I want this to be a nice city. I want to live in a place that's nice. I don't ever hear from people that say, I want to save $14. Like, I really don't. I know some people struggle. I know other people do not. I know the people that struggle also want to live in a nice city. And I don't feel like we're burdening anyone by keeping the percentage at which their property is taxed the same. We're not raising it. As someone way smarter than me who used to sit on this council years ago once told me in one of these meetings, it's real easy to lower it. It's real hard to raise it. And while the council can do what the council does, the second we go to raise a millage rate, we're not going to have a room like this. And by the way, I'm not going to be in it, more than likely, at least right here. So I would say that it's really easy to lower it. And while that feels good, and I agree it does, and I've participated in it several times, I've made motions to go to the rollback rate. I really don't think this is the year. I think this is the year that we unload these funds that have been sitting in the budget for so many years, that have made the budget look like we had all this giant expenditure and it's just gone up and it's out of control. And, we have all this money sitting in there for the landing that's finally going to get spent. We have all this money in there that's sitting there for a project like we just talked about in that meeting at the rec facility that's going to get spent. So this is not the time to say, hey, let's save someone $14, and it's not. And if someone comes to the podium and says, I will really need that $14, I think there's ways that the city works with people when they're experiencing hardships, because I've sat in this room and listened to those stories be told as well. So let's not legislate to saying some grand thing that sounds real good when we're like, well, there's some people out there struggling. Yes, there's always going to be some people out there struggling. Always. And there's always going to be people doing better than me and doing better than everybody at this board. But that's not what we're here to legislate on. We're here to legislate for everyone. And the majority of people that I talk to, which is what I'm supposed to do, represent those people, want this to be a nice city. And so that's why I made that motion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Baird?
I was tempted, I have to admit, I was tempted to go to the rolled back rate, 4.3. But then I looked at and I thought of Mike Anderson, and I looked at my trim notice, and I looked at my property taxes, and I saw that we're right there with Laurel Hill. We're booming. And I thought, you've learned to work with 4.6. And I'm proud of you. Keep it up. This is what I want to see. And if we don't, then I can go to 4.3. So, but really, truly, you know, our property values here, my taxes went up a little bit. So you're going to get some, the city's going to get more. I'm homesteaded and I'm frugal and all that. And I want everyone else to do that too. You know, so that's my comment.
Thank you. Mr. Jeter?
I agree with Councilman Allegretto and Councilman DeBerry. I would definitely be supporting it. And Coach Allegretto Councilman Allegretto had me fired up. This is the year. This is, I was telling somebody the other day, if we could take all of our projects that we say we're going to get done over the next 10 years and speed them up and get them done in 1 year, I'd vote for that regardless of the cost. Let's get it done. Obviously, you don't want your kids to get older. You don't want to fast forward through 10 years, but we have a lot of good projects. We don't need to lose the momentum right now. We need to keep the momentum. We need to get all this stuff done. I made the motion similar last year when we did do the rollback rate, which we all ended up supporting. And I'm with you. Some years you roll it back. Some years you hold it steady. You're never really going to be able to raise them. And I don't think anyone up here would ever intend to do that. But the motion I was going to make was the same motion, just that increase in revenue, like we tried to do last year, must go towards a capital project. I don't think we need to amend it because I'm pretty sure we've got so many capital projects out there. That's what it's going to go to. And that's what I agree with you. People want to say, where's my money going? When they can see it, touch it, feel it, and you can show them whether it's a pedestrian path, whether it's a paved road, whether it's a park, they don't want to see it get hidden, stuffed away, or go to payroll. And I think we've done a very good job of overanalyzing, dissecting the budget for many years to know where every dollar is going, and we're trying to put it in the right places. And I really see a different team, a different staff, and a different council than we had X amount of years ago that's really, really got their thumbprint on it and making sure that we are being good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. So I will support the motion.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mead? Oh, Mr. Schmidt?
Yeah, the point's well taken, Mr. Allegretto, Mr. Jeter. I would not argue, but I would debate. You know, there's so much attention gets on the millage rate conversation and Fort Walton Beach 2.0, and the betterment of Fort Walton Beach will happen regardless of how the outcome of this vote goes. We've rolled back the rate this would be my 8th year. We've rolled it back, I believe, 5 or 6 times. And we have some amazing projects that we're hearing about in this budget cycle. And we've had amazing projects before. Where I'm stuck on, though, is the principle of when we pitched this countywide with the TUD expansion, as well as the sales tax, finding ways to offset the burden of our locals. So I'll be continuing to try to find ways to offset that burden while still supporting ultimately what tonight's decision is. I'll be carrying it out and supporting, but I won't be supporting this motion because I still think we can meet that standard of having a nice city and getting the projects done while still staying true to what we pitched about expanding the TUD district as well as the sales tax and finding ways to offset that burden with our locals. So that's why I won't be supporting this one.
Thank you, sir.
I'd love to hear what you have to say.
I'd love to hear what you have to say.
I'm not being sarcastic.
I'm not. Do we get a second stab at it anyway? I'll go, sure. You know, looking at the background on this, I know I sent a late email to you guys, and I don't know if you answered it because I didn't get in there to check it. When was that utility tax implemented?
February the 8th, 1944.
44 with Gulf Power?
It said utilities, waters, gas.
Franchise.
And electric.
It was called Gulf Power back then.
What was it called?
Gulf Power.
But it said electric, gas, and water.
Okay, gotcha. So, looking at the, I'm not going to be supporting a motion for the maintaining the current. I would support a rollback rate. In the presentation, and it's, I guess, kind of one of the funny things, or just the way it goes. I know that since you guys, this is staff, Jeff, and members, cannot blame any department for wanting every bit of the money they can get, and phenomenal increases in growth. And then I see myself up here as looking out for taxpayers' dollars, and kind of can be a little bit of resistance there to that, the best that I can. So in the presentation on the discussion 2.211, it says the rollback rate for 24 is 4.3282 mils. If City Council were to approve the rollback rate, the city would lose $491,000 in revenue. And I wrote out beside it, that's a good example. Only in government where the budget is increasing by $4.85 million can we talk about, is it presented as it's a loss? So if we maybe mix up the presentation of that to go that instead of the city benefiting $4.85 million, it would be $4.85 million minus the, I think it's about $522,000 I got, would be the difference at the rollback rate. And don't call it 500,000. I'm not talking pennies here, but it's just that the rollback rate is not a loss. It is a reduction of the amount of increase from 4.85, because that's what the budget is. I mean, it's really clear. I would appreciate the...
Can I elaborate a little bit on what
Sure.
you're saying?
Sure.
What you're saying is not correct.
Okay.
The $4 million increase isn't an increase in revenue at all. It's an increase because we added two funds. We added the half-cent sales tax fund, and we also added the TDC funds, which equate to about $4 million of that budget. So it's not an increase in revenue. Our revenues actually are stagnant this year, and they have not increased that much.
Well, then I may be miswording it, because I want to check for sure, because I heard what you said there, and I'm like, no, that's still, those are still revenues. I mean, the budget, I mean, the balanced budget approach has us revenue sources coming in, which at least on the presentation, it says last year was $60 million. This year it's $4.85 million more. That's an increase in that. You have an increase of 4.85 in revenue, and you have a 4.85 increase in spending, because they have to balance, right?
They do have to balance, but it's not an increase in revenue. We're presenting the budget differently this year. So before we had TBC and half-cent in the general fund, we weren't recognizing all of the revenue or all of the expenses in the half-cent sales tax. So we were budgeting 2.7 million, but we were only actually recognizing like 785,000, whatever we thought our half-cent sales tax projects.
We were only budgeting the revenues of what we were spending. The other were going into reserves for half-cent sales tax. This year we're recognizing all of the revenues that we will get, but we may only spend 800,000 of it, but we still have
And
to
the rest,
recognize
to balance that fund, we have to do an appropriation to reserves.
Yeah, so these things definitely get in the muddy water for me, but just in the simple sense, which, we've had a $113 million increase in ad valorem, in value, which is a 5.4% increase. I'm still having, I don't know how the bookkeeping, accounting world of it, but I want to read it here because you presented it so well. Maybe it was on the second. Let's see if it's this one. That's where I got confused. Well, that was the millage rate.
Mr. Walk, excuse me.
Sure, go ahead.
While you're looking that up, could I ask a question? May I ask a question? Of the water bill, I noticed that you increased, I thought we weren't supposed to increase it except every 5 years. And I went back and checked all my water bills because I go back 7 to 10 years. And I was checking with other people. Rarely do they use 2,000 gallons of water, but yet you increase the the water bill, why?
There's a 5-year rate study, so every year, the rate study for 5 years, and every year there's a certain rate increase. So, I don't know, Daniel was at 0% for the first 2 years, and then it was 2.5 the last one, remember? I think yeah, and so it ended this year with a 2.5% rate increase. That'll go in effect 10/1, October 1st, and then we're going out for a new 5-year rate study in fiscal year 2025.
I'm paying more a water bill than I am my electric bill. And I don't have solar power.
You might have a leak.
No, I don't have a leak.
She doesn't use a lot of electricity.
I don't use
We
it.
get it, but we got a motion here, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
And just
Yeah.
for information.
let's have a debate about it, and let's.
And
get
so
a
I
vote.
found it, I found what I was looking for. The fiscal year 2024 proposed budget of 61 million and change is 4.8 million, or 8.61% more than the adopted previous one. And just that, however monies are washed about between the accounts and transferred and carried over and that kind of stuff, revenue is higher, even if it's from a TDC tax or, what was it you said, what were the two accounts you said were added?
TDC and half cent. The half cent revenue is about the same. It's very immaterial. I think it's only off like $100,000 of what we brought in last year. The TDC revenue is more because that's at what, 1.3 million versus 700 and some this past year. But the half cent comes in flat.
So whatever the financial maneuvers were that were made in the books, it resulted in a statement that the budget has increased $4.8 million. Let's not even call it revenue and expense. And then so when I look at the talk about rolling back as if it's going to be a loss, I personally don't see it that way. I know others may, but I don't, because it's gone up $4.8 million, and a rollback rate would cut about, I think you guys have it probably in here, well, it is $591,000. So I'm with Councilman Travis, who graciously provided his notes in advance. Thank him on that. I wish he was here to vote. But so I'm confident as he is that between us all and that rollback rate, we can trust that the city will continue to operate like a well-oiled machine, even if they cut $591,000 from the $4.8 million increase. Thank you.
As I've referenced before, on a personal level, I'll see I just looked at it, I'll see an increase of $300 and some odd dollars. We maintain the current millage rate. As a taxpayer, I'm fine with that. A lot of great city services, etc. But I know I was appointed here, but I've run for office and I've knocked on the doors, I've talked to people, I've continued to do it, and it's for those reasons, for those conversations, that I will support going to the rollback rate. I feel like we can do it. I feel like we have the room to do it. I don't know how the pressure test works with the charter amendments that come, but I don't think it's prudent. I don't believe it's the right thing to vote a certain way based on what may or may not happen with the election. So I'm going to support the rollback rate in order to maintain the same taxing income that comes in from the ad valorem taxes. I believe we can do it. I believe we can sustain our services as is. And if we hear something between now and the next meeting that we can't, I'm all ears. I wanted to hear your comments and I wanted to hear everyone. So, but today I will be supporting the rollback rate, but always open for more suggestions or comments. So I will not support the current motion.
All right, having heard from everybody, I'm going to ask for the vote.
Is that me?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's a tie, and I vote yes. So the tentative millage rate for the city of Fort Walton Beach is 4.6116 mills for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2025. which is 6.55% above the rollback rate of 4.3282 mils. The proposed millage is subject to a second and final public hearing that will be held here at the City of Fort Walton Beach Council Chambers on Tuesday, September 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m. or directly after the City Council regular meeting at 4 p.m., whichever is later. And with that, we've completed everything, correct? We've got one more, okay. Gotta find the right page. All right. 4.2, 2024-11, a resolution to adopt the FY 2024-25 tentative budget. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Fort Walton Beach, Florida, adopting the tentative budget for certain expenditures, expenses, capital improvements, and certain indebtedness for the City of Fort Walton Beach, Florida, for the year beginning October 1st, 2024, ending September 30th, 2025, and providing an effective date. Mr. Peters.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As you all recall, in the August 12th budget workshop, that's where all the budget information, all the projects, everything was presented to council. I had some really good discussions that day. Council did bring up during that meeting, they wanted to add, you all wanted to add a few projects to the total, which was included into the proposed budget that you have before you. Just a couple of them there, the Hollywood Boulevard study was $150,000. The median upgrades along Miracle Strip Parkway 98 was $150,000, and then $500,000 was included for the parking lot upgrades next to the landing over there on Brook Street, if that lease agreement is approved. So that was about $800,000 that was added to the budget. And the only other item that I would like to throw in front of you today, and it's something we can do mid-year as well, but just to bring you up to speed, I sent an email out the other day. We did meet with contractors, a lighting company for the Ferry Park lights, which I know all of you all have been interested in. We got quotes for that, which would be on state contract. The lighting alone with the poles and the lights are about $115,000, $120,000. We would bid out the labor, conduit, wiring, installation so that would go out as a project. We could include a number in the budget of that, or bring it back after it's bid out. If council would like to do that, we can do a budget amendment during the fiscal year if that's what you all would like to do. But I was just bringing you up to speed on that one. But other than that, nothing's changed in the budget. So Nicole, myself, and the directors are available for any comments or questions you may have.
Okay. Let me read my prepared script. The tentative budget for the City of Fort Walton Beach for FY 2024-25 is $61,149,983, which is $4,849,386, or 8.61% more than the adopted FY 2023-2024 budget. I will now open the public hearing and ask for public comments. Anyone wish to comment, please? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'm going to ask for a motion and a second for Resolution 2024-11 to adopt the tentative budget for the City of Fort Walton Beach for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025. May we get a motion?
Mayor, make a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-11 for the tentative budget for the City of Fort Walton Beach fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Made a motion by Councilman Jeter, seconded by Councilman Allegretto, to adopt the tentative budget for the City of Fort Walton Beach for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, ending September 30th, 2025. I'm now open for discussion.
I would fully support the budget amendment for the Ferry Park lighting, but there's no point in including that now because you don't have the correct numbers. Okay, but I would support it, yes.
Okay. Anyone else wish to comment?
Yeah, I want to check maybe some, because last year was my first year participating in this, and I was thinking back on last year's meeting today. Last year, and I don't know if it's in the background, I apologize, but last year we had this first tentative millage rate meeting, and it was, I did have a bunch of questions then, but we didn't have to because it was kind of like, it's just, This is just the first, it's the maximum that it can be. 4.611 is the maximum that it can be, right?
That's correct.
And next meeting, theoretically, if Travis is back and if the votes hold steady, we'll have a rollback rate next meeting that would, come to be. And that can happen, right? I mean, it's, the second meeting is where the minimum, or at that time, it'll become the maximum rate will be established then, right? Okay. Got it.
Any further questions or comments?
Yeah, just if I could, real quick, I wanted to, because I did bring up that utility tax, it's always been something that I've been interested in, and like, why is that? How did that happen? And Mr. Berry, you mentioned someplace up north, I can't remember, you had a real low rate, or we were the same as them?
Laurel Hill.
Laurel Hill. And so I was on that utility tax, it effectively, essentially disguises the true cost of living here. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the big round number on ad valorem revenue is about $8 million this year, 7 some change. And then I think the utility tax is about 4. So it's about half again. So the true cost of taxes to a person who lives here with utilities, not if it's a vacant lot, is higher property taxes. So I do want to point that out. And then Councilman Schmidt, you had mentioned it was I was surprised. This is one of the biggest surprising numbers I had in the demographics from that, was that the median value of home was down 7% and the median income was down 9%.
It's not down, it's lower than the median. 7% lower than the median, that's our area. Not that it's down from last year.
Do we know if it was down from last year or up or about the same?
Well, I don't know, I can ask the property appraiser.
Yeah, I know y'all have heard it, but I just have this deep concern I do hear from and see a lot of people that are suffering, and they may not say it directly. That I think they want both. They want both a nice city and the cost of living to be down. They want both, and there's nothing wrong with wanting both. And I just, I know that it might be $14 to one individual, and another one it's more at $300. Mine might be more. I've got 2 buildings in town, so I won't be supporting the budget. I know where the votes are going to fall. I won't be supporting it. I think people are hurting. I think it's a wrong time. Speaking of times, I think it's a wrong time to be raising expenses on them. Whatever it is, I would like to see that $14 increase improved to a $500 reduction on them. That's how bad it is out there. It's some of them that I'm speaking with and hear from, and that just really are having a tough time. So I won't be supporting the amendment, and thank you for your time.
Any further discussion, council? Okay.
Although I voted in favor of the rollback, if the consensus of the council is to have this millage rate, I will support the budget the council brings forward.
Thanks. Council, please vote. And it does pass 5-1. Thank you, council. The tentative budget for the city of Fort Walton Beach is for FY 2024-25 is $61,149,983 with a tentative millage rate of 4.6116 mils, which is 6.55% above the rollback rate of 4.3282 mils. The proposed budget is subject to a second and final public hearing that will be held here at City Hall, City of Fort Walton Beach Council Chambers on Tuesday, September 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m. or directly after the City Council regular meeting at 4 p.m., whichever is later. Thank you, council. And with that, I think we're done, are we not? We are done.
We're done.
Sure.